The IMF loan is the fastest way to make money in BTC6, but it's very complicated to operate and also might remind you of a Ponzi scheme. So let's start simple. The IMF loan is basically a bank with an ability which allows us to borrow money. You click this button and $10,000 appear in your bank account, but you have to pay it back over time. The payments work in a very simple way. Every little bit of income that we get is divided 50-50 between our cash and our debt. So if we pop a blue balloon which gives $2, $1 goes to our current cash and $1 goes to repay our debt. But let's say we use those $10,000 which is borrowed to buy another IMF loan. We can absolutely do that, but when we click the ability of the new one, instead of getting $10,000, we'll only get $5,000. This is because we're in debt from the first IMF loan, so half of the 10K goes to our debt and the other half goes to our bank account. So basically we just took money from IMF number 2 to pay back IMF number 1. Now using the money that we're making, we can keep doing this and keep buying more and more IMF loans. Now there's a little bit of a problem, and it's that once we take out a loan from an IMF, we cannot use its ability until we have paid back the loan. And here is where we introduce a monkey knowledge point called bank deposits. The deposit button allows us to put some of the money that we currently have in our bank account back into the IMF loan, let it collect interest, and then take out a lot more money in a few rounds. But we can use this monkey knowledge to pay our loan faster. So here's what happens. We can deposit 6K from our bank account, but even though the number says that we can collect 6K, if we click it, we only get about half of that, because remember, a portion automatically goes to pay back the debt. And by constantly depositing and collecting, we can get rid of the debt and be able to use the IMF ability once again from that specific IMF farm. Now the loan ability starts on cooldown, which is 90 seconds, and in order to make it work, we need to stall rounds for as long as possible, which is yet another thing to worry about. And all of these things, like stalling, constantly depositing and collecting, watching which ability is up and when, defending, buying more IMF loans, it becomes increasingly complicated really fast. When done correctly though, this strategy can farm tens to over $100,000 before the tier 1 boss appears. And that's what makes it really good, but also incredibly tedious and just not attractive to use for the average player unless you're doing ranked boss events.